Many years ago, an elderly woman lived quietly on a small farm in California. She had spent her entire life working side by side with her husband, building their world from the soil with their own hands. There was a time when they owned wide stretches of land, tall cornfields that swayed in the wind, and many animals that filled the farm with life. But after her husband passed away, everything began to fall apart. Her body grew weak with age. Her knees ached constantly, and every step she took was slow and painful. Still, she carried on as best she could. Her daughter and son-in-law lived under the same roof. The daughter was no longer the loving child she once was. Impatience and anger followed her everywhere. The son-in-law was lazy, spending most of his days asleep and avoiding responsibility. Despite her exhaustion, the old woman continued to help however she could. Each task drained her, yet she never complained. She believed family should endure together. One night, as darkness filled the house, the young couple whispered in low, urgent voices. "If we keep living like this, we will starve," the husband said quietly. The daughter answered without hesitation, "Mother has to go. This house should be ours." The next morning, harsh noises shattered the silence. The old woman slowly stepped outside and froze. Her clothes, blankets, and worn shoes were scattered across the ground. Her daughter stood nearby, her face cold and unreadable, saying nothing at all. "Mother, you must leave," her daughter said flatly, refusing to meet her eyes. The old woman's hands trembled as she struggled to speak. "This is my home," she whispered, her voice breaking with disbelief. Before she could say anything more, the door slammed shut in front of her. She remained on the cold step for hours, crying until the sky darkened and evening swallowed the day. What the young couple never realized was that she and her late husband had quietly saved money for many years. He had hidden it carefully inside a stone box near the old corral. That night, moving slowly through the shadows, she went there alone. With aching hands, she shifted the stones and uncovered her savings. Holding that money, she felt something she had not felt in a long time: hope. By morning, she walked toward the next village. A kind farm family recognized her and welcomed her with warmth. They gave her food, hot tea, and a small room where she could finally rest for the night. At sunrise, she asked them gently if any land nearby was for sale. "Yes, there is," they replied. Using her savings, she bought a good piece of land. With help from neighboring farmers, she built a sturdy wooden house. She planted corn again, raised chickens, and slowly rebuilt her life. Peace returned to her days. A young boy from a nearby farm often came to help her with chores. He was polite, hardworking, and treated her with the respect she deserved. Meanwhile, far away, her daughter and son-in-law sank deeper into poverty, unaware that the woman they had cast out was finally living with dignity and quiet strength once more.
They refused to work, and slowly their home began to fall apart. The walls cracked, the roof weakened, and weeds took over the yard. Poverty crept in quietly, and with it came constant arguments. Still, they believed the old woman had nothing left and would never survive on her own. One day, desperate for work, the son-in-law walked a long distance in search of a job. Eventually, he arrived at a beautiful, well-kept farm and knocked on the door. When it opened, he froze in shock. It was the old woman. "You?" he said, unable to hide his disbelief. "Yes," she replied calmly, her voice steady. Ashamed and hungry, he begged for work, admitting he had no money and no food. She agreed to hire him, but only on one condition. "You must not tell my daughter that this farm belongs to me," she said quietly. He nodded eagerly. "I promise." From that day on, he worked hard, day after day. The old woman never treated him cruelly or spoke of the past. She asked him only one thing, again and again. "How is my daughter?" "She is fine," he always replied, even though it was not true. One morning, suspicion led the daughter to follow him. When she saw the large farm, her eyes widened in disbelief. She stepped into the yard and suddenly came face to face with her mother. "You live in all this while I suffer?" she screamed angrily. "When you finish shouting," the old woman said softly, "then you may speak to me." The daughter demanded money, the house, anything she could claim. The old woman handed her only a few coins and gently closed the door. The couple wasted the money almost immediately. Soon after, they sold their old house and land. They convinced themselves that one day they would inherit the new farm when the old woman died. But the old woman had already chosen her path. She wrote her will with a clear heart. My farm shall go to the young boy who helped me when I had no one. My daughter will receive nothing. When the old woman passed away, the entire village gathered to bury her with honor and respect, remembering her strength, her patience, and the quiet justice of her life. The daughter and her husband returned, certain the farm now belonged to them. They demanded what they believed was their right, but the neighbors stood firm and told them the truth. Everything had been left to the young boy. The words hit them like a blow. Shock drained the color from their faces, and shame followed close behind. With nothing left to say, the couple turned away and left the village. No one ever saw them again. So remember this, my friends. Even when others push you aside or try to break you, you still have the power to rise. Your worth is never defined by those who treat you without mercy. With courage and self-respect, a broken life can be rebuilt. Kindness always finds a way to grow, while greed leads only to ruin. Choose strength, choose dignity, and always choose your own path forward.